All right, ladies and gents, welcome to today's video. We're doing it live, so I don't know how the audio sounds. Hopefully it sounds good. With that being said, the topic of today, I'm being lazy going live and making this video. There's no editing required. The topic is going to be basically knowing what your superpower is and what is your superpower. Your superpower, I would define to be your biggest strength that you have, which is basically your biggest asset when it comes to, I'm speaking strictly on the subject of business, but the superpower kind of leaks into personal life as well in certain aspects. So let me give you an example of what my superpower is, and then we'll get into how you can kind of better understand what yours is if you don't really know what it is. For me, my superpower is the ability to build things. I love learning and I love building. So I can learn a new subject and learn enough about it to where I can build certain things around it. Let me give you a practical example of something I've built. One of the things that was built was a certain process in our current agency on, it's called the Nexus report, but it's basically a process that allows us to harvest a bunch of data, transform the data, spit it out into campaigns that we can launch for our clients. Again, we run an advertising agency. And so that is something I've built. It's a lot of like in spreadsheets and data and, back and forth with someone that understands quality assurance, like a QA specialist, someone that can automate certain things, basically an automation specialist. And this is something that was difficult to build, but I loved it, and I loved the process of building it. Laris Andrew, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, brother, hopefully says, I love you, Taylor. Thank you. I love you as well. Much love. I think you're the only viewer on right now live. But anyways, your biggest strength, it's really important. Another practical example is I loved building the new Better AMS website. I mean, I've never built a website before. I mean, I built the original one, but not with a designer. So actually sitting down and building a wireframe and then giving it to the web designer and actually, going through iterations and trying to get that process built out. Anyways, that's my biggest strength. Now for you, yours is going to be different. My partner's is, I would say her superpower is connecting with people. I mean, she seems to be connected with everyone and gets connected with everyone relatively quickly and does a great job of communication with people. And I mean, that's, I think, why she's so good at connection and connecting with people. So she's like a super connector, and that's great. And I'm more of like a super builder, and I'm introverted and I don't like doing that. Okay. And so if I tried to, in the beginning of my agency, when I was doing $0 to $10,000 per month, and this is why it's important to understand your superpower. I didn't know what my superpower was. I think I was quite young and I hadn't really developed it yet, so to speak. You can kind of develop it as time goes on. TP says she is a connector. There are marketing personality types. That's good to know. I've never heard of that. I have heard of StrengthsFinder and other personality tests, but that's cool to know there's marketing personality types. So, she's a connector, and when I was doing $0 to $10,000 a month, I didn't know what my superpower was. I was just trying to do anything possible to grow this agency. As time went on, there was probably a good year and a half of my life, maybe 2 years, where I was in roles doing things that I shouldn't have been doing because that wasn't my strength. However, whenever it came to building something or learning something new, I was always really excited. Information gatherer, TP says, that's probably what I am as well. On the COBA personality test, I'm very detail oriented, and I love gathering information and then organizing it and ordering it, and bringing structure to chaos is very fun for me in certain regards. So how can you figure out what your superpower is? First of all, if you're 18 years old and you're just starting your agency, you probably haven't developed it yet. So just give it some time. I mean, if you kind of know what it might be, great, that's fine. At 18, 19, I would have had no idea. And none of the personality tests I've taken today would have helped, at least because my personality at that time was very different. However, if you're not advanced, but if you got some experience in business, some things that will really help is taking personality tests. TP said there's a marketing personality type. I've never heard of that, but maybe that would help. But the ones that I can recommend to you are Clifton StrengthsFinder. It's about $30 or something. Visionary versus integrator. That one's fantastic. Everyone should do this in high school and like coming out of high school. You should do this test like once a year. It's called the Visionary versus Integrator test by Gino Wickman, I think it is. And it'll basically tell you, hey, if you're a visionary, you're going to have big ideas and you're going to be able to envision things and constantly seeing the future and thinking 2, 3, 4, 5 years out, 10, 20 years out. And that's great. But you're going to suck at like making it happen and building it and being and, holding yourself accountable for actually putting in the infrastructure and maintaining the systems that are required to be able to get to that vision that you have. So I'm an integrator. My partner, Destiny, she is a visionary, and she's a great visionary. And so that's a perfect, balance. You want to kind of have both at some point in your agency, and that'll help you a lot because I'm definitely more of an integrator. And so being a visionary is part of my weakness. However, if you have a partner who can balance that, that's amazing. If you don't, you can just be aware of it. So visionary versus integrator, Clifton strengths, those are 2 personality tests. Kobe A is fantastic. I love that personality test as well. Some of the people in our company have taken the Enneagram. I'm not too familiar with that. I can't really tell you too much about that, but everyone in our company has seemed to take it. I took it as well because they were all wondering what mine was, or Destiny was telling me. But personality tests and just self-reflection are really some of the ways that you can be able to better understand what your superpower, what your strength may be. A quick interruption here. Stockopops, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. What's your biggest tip for getting your first agency client? Yeah, I mean, my biggest tip is probably, first of all, find a niche that you're curious about. Make sure that niche, you're solving an actual problem, and you can get paid for it, $2,000 to $4,000 per month, ideally, or one-time project fee. But it's not really as hard as you would think. I think that now hindsight is 2020. So for me, looking back, it would be very easy to start a new agency in a completely different niche just because of the experience that I have. But when you're starting out, you got to kind of be able to pick a niche and quickly kind of identify if there is an opportunity for you to step into that niche and be able to service that niche. And a very easy way to do this is just to see if other people are successful. So I run an Amazon advertising agency. You could start one tomorrow and get your first client in a matter of weeks if you had the proper lead generation systems. So you can look at other people. However, it's important to just first ask yourself, what am I curious about? Because you don't want to get into a niche that you have no interest in. And it may not be, I'm not that in love with Amazon advertising. I'm in love with just like data and advertising in general and just playing around with numbers and testing things. So you don't necessarily have to love the thing that you're doing. Again, we're an Amazon advertising agency. It doesn't mean that I am in love with Amazon advertising. I'm in love with the process of being an advertising agency and helping our clients grow their business. That's super exciting to me. And Amazon advertising is just one way of accomplishing that, for growing, for helping a client grow his business. So anyways, pick something you're curious about. You can look at other people to see if there's demand. But most importantly is once you've picked that niche, give yourself 2 to 4 weeks. If you have a really good dialed in lead gen system, you can use Trojan Horse Marketing. That's one of the best ones that I can recommend to you. Use Trojan Horse Marketing, get that system set up, and do your best to be able to contact 1,000 to 2,000 prospects as soon as possible. Okay. If you have used Trojan Horse Marketing and you've contacted 1,000 prospects that fit your client avatar, again, this is a lot to answer that question because you kind of got to build in your mind who you think an ideal client avatar would be. But if the moment you have that avatar built, you have the niche, you craft the Trojan Horse video and you send out 1,000, look, even if that video is going to be absolutely terrible, you should still get opportunities. You should be able to get people on the phone who are interested in learning more about your service, which is non-existent because you don't have any clients. But when I was starting out, man, I sent some of the worst cold messages I've ever sent in my entire life. They were absolutely terrible. And I got people who responded like, hey, I'd love to talk about that. I sent to one guy a cold email who turned into a client. He's been a client for 3 years now. I sent him a message on LinkedIn, just a cold message saying, hey, I think your competitors are stealing a lot of money from you guys. And I thought that was like a brilliant strategy. Just say that and nothing else. He responded, he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, your advertising, it's not that great. I think you guys could do a better job. He's like, well, I'd love to talk about that. I was 19. I had no idea what I was doing. Now it's obviously a much better system, and Trojan Horse Marketing can help you with that. So hopefully that helps. That's a super high level. TP says, tell me about your diet. You need healthy body, I think fast. Yeah, I mean, diet is mostly pretty simple. It's usually fruit for breakfast. And then just lunch and dinner happens. Lunch happens at 12:30, dinner's at 6:30. And it's like typical food. I mean, I tell the chef, we have a chef, so the food is cooked by him. And I just tell him, look, I want like greens, I want carbs, and I want protein. So that's it. Make sure every meal has some green, it has carbs a little bit, it has protein. And it's not that much food. Lunch is a smaller portion than dinner. And occasionally doing an 18-hour fast, maybe once a week, and then maybe a 24 to 36-hour fast once a month or once a quarter is also great to kind of just reset the body. But sometimes I won't eat breakfast and we'll just go straight from like, that's like an 18-hour fast, but depends on how I'm feeling. You should never just like adopt a diet and then just stick to it because you're trying to stick to it. You should just always listen to your body intuitively. How does my body feel when I ate this? So I have a thing on my phone in Evernote, and it basically says, do not ever eat these foods. There's been foods that I've eaten, sometimes I instantly feel terrible. And I'll write it down. And then maybe 3 months will go by and I'll have that meal again just because it was like a really good meal or something. And if that happens again, I'll never, ever touch it ever again. Because you can't always be certain that that's the causality when you have a small data set. But anyways, it helps in jotting these things down. So this was a giant video about strengths and your superpower, and just being able to understand what your superpower is. And it's also important to understand kind of what you would say your weaknesses are. And this is where personality tests can help, but personality tests can be quite limiting if you're very young and you're new in business. However, if you're 25, 26 years old, it can be really helpful because you're not that young. Going through teenage years, I mean, you're just changing so rapidly, at least for me. I don't know, maybe it's different for everybody. Babe Stowe says, I improved my Google business profiles of local businesses by doing SEO, photography, one-time service. Thoughts? Currently, my prospecting is just door to door. I don't know. What's your question? I improved Google my business profiles of local business by doing SEO. One-time service. Thoughts? Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, I mean, first of all, stop doing door to door and start just contacting companies through the phone or through email and through direct message. Door to door is great to maybe get a few clients if you don't have a lot of confidence, and it's easier to sign clients because it's face to face and there's a level of trust there that you can't get through email, through video, email, through phone calls. But once you got some results and you have confidence, I mean, even starting out, I would say just go straight through the phone, and you should have no issue with that. If you're going door to door, you should be totally fine. So go door to door. A one-time service fee it's limiting. I mean, I don't know how much you're charging. I'm assuming it's less than $1,500. But if it's a one-time service fee, you need to get something in there that can allow you to upsell them to get into a recurring fee. Otherwise, you need to just have a massive amount of constant volume on one-time projects, which I think is limiting. And I think you should figure out something that you can upsell that's a recurring. So anyways, pretty much that's it for this video, guys. I know it's a bit more of a rant, not so polished, no special effects. Hit the sub button if you haven't. We got only a handful of people on, but it was beautiful sticking with you guys. Hey, before I hop off, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to shoot it in the chat. I'll try to get an answer to you. Otherwise, we'll hop off. And this was a rant about superpower and knowing what's best for you. Babe Stowe, Babo Stowe, not Babe Stowe, says thanks. No worries. Much love. If you haven't hit the sub button, that's all I ask in return. All right. Hey guys, this has been a pleasure, and I'll probably do a live once a week, and maybe I'll plan it out so more people can join when I actually go live. So anyways, much love, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao. Thanks, TP. Appreciate the comment. Ciao, guys.